Hi, thanks for joining us. This is going to be a fantastic conversation between two luminaries within the cybersecurity community. We've got Kevin from Trend Micro and Geva from Snyk. Now, Trend Micro is the leader in cloud security, and Snyk is the leader in developer-first open source security. Now, why are we talking here today? It's a great question, and that's why we've got these two giants here with us to answer it. So we do have an announcement. Kevin, we've seen the press release. It's saying that Trend Micro and Snyk are expanding this historic partnership. Do you want to give us a little bit of the overview?
Sure. Thanks, Mark, for the setup, although I'm a little bit nervous about the luminary comment, but we'll do our best. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here with my good friend Geva from Snyk. Long-standing, actually, history with this team, and over the last couple of years with Snyk themselves. As the leader in cloud security, what we're always looking for is how can we be adding more value to what our customers are looking for. And we partnered with Snyk a couple of years ago. We know they're the leaders in everything to do with development, security for developers. And we felt like it was going to be, just a super partnership, and that's come true with this second deeper partnership announcement. So super excited about it.
And Geva, I always find it interesting, developer first. I think that's absolutely critical within our community because developers have been overlooked for so long as part of the security piece. Can you give us a little more about that approach and what Snyk is looking for out of this partnership?
Yeah, so when you are looking at how applications are being built in this modern era, more and more of the responsibility is slowly shifting to developers, where maybe 10, 20 years ago they would write their Java app and then they'd file a ticket and somebody would take care of the rest of deploying it and running it and managing it. And so now slowly they're owning more and more. They're owning the containers, they're owning the open source, they're writing even the Terraform scripts that control the deployment. And what's been lagging is security tools to help them do all of that more securely as they're writing the code. And we don't want to add stuff that makes it even harder for them to do security. We want to add stuff that makes it easier for them to do security. So that's kind of what Snyk means when we talk about developer first security. And through this partnership, we're taking a lot of the tech and delivering it also, but to other persona that Trend Micro have a great rapport, has built great relationships with, and build tools for. And together we're trying to kind of bridge the two worlds, where the developers are coming from and where they need to go, and where the security operations team are coming from and where they need to go.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, Geva. So, I'm a longtime security guy, and I've been focused on the cloud for the last decade or so. And that mirrors actually a lot of Trend Micro's history, in business for over 30 years, moved to the cloud a decade plus ago. And Kevin, I know, Trend traditionally, having been in security for so long, has that really strong relationship with security teams. But security teams don't necessarily have the best reputation when it comes to working with developers and working with cloud teams. And I know the original stage of the partnership with Snyk helped bring some of that knowledge to security teams and to developers. Is that part of the goal here, is to help expose security teams to that modern way of thinking when it comes to the cloud and to modern applications?
Yeah, it's a good way of thinking about it, Mark. One of the things that we really look for is we look for the big infrastructure changes that are going on out there. And because they're opportunities for innovation. So the cloud was a big infrastructure change, and that was an opportunity for massive innovation. And boy, we've seen that. But it's also an opportunity for the bad guys and the hackers. The threat landscape is changing dramatically. And what we've seen is that security people, they still have jobs to do, and they want to be involved in this conversation, right? They have a lot of responsibility at companies, and they're held accountable, and they're living in a world where you've got 80% of all the source code that is built, and Geva can talk more about this, is open source. We're living in a world, in this DevOps world, where releases are happening faster and faster and faster. So you throw all of this together, and it just introduces an opportunity for mistakes to be made, threats to be introduced, misconfigurations to happen. And ultimately, it's the security guys that have to be the catcher, the backdrop of everything. They've got to pick up on it. So, we really think with Snyk and Trend coming together that we're in a really fantastic spot to bring the best of both worlds together, but put it in front of, I like what Geva said, a different persona. Put it in front of the security ops person. And we think that that's going to be quite compelling.
So before we jump to Geva on that one, let me just clarify for a second, because we've kind of implied a few things here, but bringing it to the security person, does that mean that this partnership is going to manifest itself as part of the Cloud One platform from Trend Micro?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're contemplating. Is we want to take this wonderful technology that Snyk has been making available primarily to the developer persona, and we're packaging it up in a report format so that we can actually give some wonderful visibility to the IT security and the SecOps personas, and they can see that. They can see actually what's going on. And the plan is to fully integrate it into our Cloud One platform. That's our platform built for cloud builders. We're going to integrate it, and we're going to go to market with the entire package.
Wow. Okay. Geva, a couple things that Kevin said there triggered some thoughts for me and maybe a bit of shudder, especially from the security persona view. We know from the State of DevOps report from the DORA organization that 43% of DevOps teams that are either highly advanced or elite can push out builds at least once a week, if not once a day. And for developers, that's normal. That's the goal. Like, that's where they want to be. And, and the almost majority of them have gotten there. That kind of sends shivers down security people's spines a lot of the time. But Snyk has provided such a frictionless way of getting that sort of updated security information into developers' hands, and has that fantastic report, the 2020 Snyk report on the open source community. It has a ton of great information in there. Can you maybe talk a little bit about how receptive developers have been to that? Because I think that's part of the key here, is when you're giving security teams the information that they need, it's also going to start a conversation. How's that going? How do you think that's going to play out?
So, I mean, you said a bunch of things there, and I'll try to address all of them. So one, again, developers and the whole DevOps motion is going towards ability to rapidly release. And yes, definitely it's causing some people heartburn. Oh my God, we're releasing so many applications so frequently, and I lost kind of the traditional, choke point of security running their audits and approving or not approving release of a product into production. And so kind of the switch there is, okay, how do we address this new speed? We need to get a security tool that's integrated into developer lifecycle. So on every commit, on every push, and every pull request, you're giving the developers the feedback. But you also need to take into consideration that developers are very much not security experts. So the tool needs to be so intuitive and so simple that it just tells them what to do and automates that for them, because they don't have time to go and build that, that expertise. And I think Snyk has been very successful in building that kind of tool. The time to value to a developer is very fast. It saves them the need to be security experts and kind of automates the remediation for them. But in the context of the partnership here with Trend and the product we're trying to build, we're trying to bridge many gaps, I would say, between the developers and the traditional security teams. One is on this new tech, this new technology, open source, which is a core tenet of cloud native applications. Developers are consuming more and more of it, and traditionally security teams don't have visibility into it. And so one, how can we build a tool that gives the security team now visibility into this important technology? Two, we're bridging a gap of process. There's this whole element of the shift left motion. More stuff is happening, during dev time, and security people traditionally came to the conversation at the end after application's been deployed. How do we bridge that? And the third one is an organizational one. Maybe traditionally developers and security teams are more butt-heading, but how can we help them have more of a collaboration? And I think with this partnership, we're trying to address all these three gaps, which is quite a big undertaking, but I think has a good chance of taking us forward and making us a little more successful on all three of those fronts.
Just it got me thinking, Geva, when you were describing it so eloquently, by the way. We're living in an incredible time, incredible world, right? With the daily and weekly releases and all this innovation happening. And, a simple metaphor for me, because I'm a simple guy, some people think in the automotive industry that brakes were added to cars to slow them down. But actually, brakes were added to make them go to allow cars to go faster. The faster you wanted to go, you needed to be able to brake. And at the end of the day, you have to have both, right? And I think that's what we're trying to provide here, is make sure that everybody can get their jobs done and continue to do all this wonderful innovation.
I think that's a really good way of putting it, Kevin, and an excellent analogy. We talk often when we're talking about cloud security and we're talking to developers and cloud builders about setting up guardrails, right? Providing them, the guardrails they need to make sure that things don't go off the rails, but also to allow them to continue to move fast, to innovate quickly, to deploy at the pace they want to. And it seems like blending these two together, getting the protection from the Trend side and the Cloud One platform, integrating all the deep knowledge and vulnerability awareness in that friction-free method from Snyk is really looking to hit that sweet spot. I know one of the things reading the Snyk 2020 report that jumped out at me again was just the expansion of the open source community. So NPM, for Node.js package manager, growing 39% last year alone, and it was already massive to start. And this, we know that misconfigurations are probably the #1 issue when it comes to cloud security, followed very, very quickly by a lack of awareness around the dependencies in your code. But you don't at the same time want to slow down. So it seems like this combination is really that really strong 1-2 punch that an organization is going to need to make sure that they're not only developing quickly, but they're doing it in a manner that's secure and safe. Is that the feeling and what you guys are going for here?
I can try to answer that. And so I look at it from a few perspectives. One from the hacker side, why is open source risk so important? Why is open source so attractive for hackers? One is just easier to attack when you have access to the code. It's easier to find the attack vectors. But more interestingly, on the ROI side for them, if you find a juicy vulnerability in a very popular open source package, then it's not just one company you can attack. You can attack maybe thousands or tens of thousands of companies. And precisely what makes a popular open source package popular is the key here for the hackers. So it's becoming easier and more ROI for them, and so that's why we're seeing more and more hackers spend their time there. From a developer's perspective, developers are happy to reuse code, but maybe they're using 20 dependencies or 20 open source packages in their app. Those packages are using other 20 and using other 20, and you have these big dependency trees. And a developer, frankly, can't keep track of every single package when they're releasing a new version. Did they have a security fix? Did they not have a security fix? And so they also need a tool to tell them, okay, when is the time to take a new version, and which ones have vulnerabilities and which ones don't have vulnerabilities. And kind of you need to take all of those things together and deliver a tool that allows to do that very, very simply. And again, not optimizing on people's time and making them more efficient is the key here. Otherwise, no adoption.
Fair. And Kevin, let me ask you this to round this conversation out. What do you think is going to be the biggest benefit to those security teams that are trying to move into the cloud and are trying, their best to allow the other teams to innovate quickly, but still have very valid concerns around the safety and protecting their organizations? What do you think is going to be the biggest benefit to them to see Snyk's technology appearing in Trend Micro's Cloud One platform?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What we're What we believe quite strongly, based on the research that we've seen and the number of the increase in vulnerabilities going on, being found in open source, and just generally speaking, through this whole global pandemic, we've seen quite a spike in ransomware and lots of different threat landscape indicators. So fundamentally, we think that this is going to be a great story for cloud builders, for cloud security practitioners that actually want to deploy a holistic platform. At the end of the day, there's lots of different disparate tools and whatnot, but the ability to have a single platform that they can utilize across everything from misconfiguration, like you were talking about, protecting the workload, protecting the network in the cloud, protecting your storage, protecting containers, protecting your applications, and being able to get good visibility as to what's going on from that your development teams are doing from an open source standpoint. We think that this is a really, really nice formula, and that our customers will be looking for this.
And I like the concept of the Cloud One platform, because I think at the end of the day, every customer has different security needs, and they need to kind of stitch different pieces of the technology. And when you put it all in this platform, you allow every customer to customize and and more tailor what they need from the security, what's more important to them now, but still give them the opportunity to take other types of security later when their tech evolves, and they have different types of needs.
Yeah, that's a great point. That one click to expand into a whole new set of protections makes it a lot easier. And it, again, back to Snyk's theme as well in the product development, is reducing that friction, right? Security should be an enabler. It shouldn't get in the way. And the last thing you want to do is have trouble procuring something, let alone rolling it out. So one click to get up and running and to have it there to expand your use of the platform is absolutely one of the keys, I think, moving forward. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. This has been a fantastic discussion. So there you have it, a fantastic conversation involving Geva from Snyk and Kevin from Trend Micro. I always love hosting these kind of conversations because they provide such valuable insights from unique perspectives within our community. It's not often that you get that sort of wide a view in one short video. If you want to read more about the expansion of the partnership of Trend Micro and Snyk, you can read the Trend Micro blog post or the Snyk blog post. We've posted those in the comments below. If you want to discuss this, if you have comments, if you want to tell us how excited you are about this, hit us up on social, on Twitter @TrendMicro or @SnykSec. My name's Mark Nunakoven. We'll see you soon.